Hi, this is Tracy.
Hey Tracy, this is Justice here over at Connex. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Doing quite well. I guess being an observer to history today is one thing. I guess
I know,
um,
isn't that crazy?
it is absolutely insane. I actually woke up this morning and because my office here is in Arizona, where the corporate office is in New York, and I woke up at 5:30. And of course, the market opens at 6 o'clock local time, and all of a sudden I just got this ping like the Dow was down 1,000 points. I was like, did I read that right? I was like, 1,000? That's how it opened up with.
Wow.
I had to go through again and count the zeros and make sure it didn't mean 100.
But then I was just thinking, I'm like, I should buy some stock.
Right, as it was going down, and that's what happened. A lot of people were just buying stock at a massively discounted price, and then you see it kind of rally back to I think it was down by 199 points, and then it sell off again down to 600, and another buyback, and people start buying more stocks again. It was incredible to watch the market. And I'm not really a market watcher, but today I had to admit I was glued to it a little a little more than I'm used to, and frankly wanted to be glued to it. So. But other than that, everything's going just fine. How about you? How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Doing well.
Well, good. Well, welcome aboard. And I think you were with us a few years back, weren't you?
I was.
Tracy?
Yep.
How'd you like it? What was your takeaway a few years back? How'd you enjoy it?
I think the structure was good. I think the struggle is in my global role, it's hard to find sessions that I can get contributions from or get value from versus providing value. And so I struggle with that a little bit. That's why I was asking a lot of questions like who's going to be there, those types of things. I asked probably way too many questions, so I just wanted to make sure it was. And he's like, well, hey, you could just lead 2 think tanks and you can get what you need from it.
Yeah, I mean, if you definitely, it sounded like you definitely got the context to do that. But yeah, there's going to be a real diverse group of people. I just got the phone with an organization who has 18,000. Not as diverse around the globe, but definitely has an international presence. I think you're kind of an exception from the standpoint of having so many employees all over the world, but they definitely do have an international footprint and. Was just going through the same challenges that being part of a global organization really is, which is completely different than a national, even a multi-state, organization. There's just so many other rules and regulations and laws, and that just somebody else who just doesn't have that has to deal with. I mean, dealing, across state is one thing. Dealing across country is completely different, right? So.
Yeah. So it sounds like there's more global employers this time, and even some that have greater presence even outside the U.S. than in the U.S. So
yeah.
I'll be looking forward to hearing some of that.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I definitely think you'll see a lot of value with us for the 3 days that you're going to be. Now you're staying from Sunday to Tuesday, correct?
Yes. Yep.
Perfect. Yeah, you should have you'll definitely get a lot out of it. So.
Tuesday?
What's that?
I think the guy I was talking to, I'm sorry I don't remember his name, but he's like, feel free to leave Tuesday morning because we'll fit your sessions in Sunday and Monday.
Yeah, that's kind of where the bulk is at. So, and Tuesday, some leave early Tuesday, some leave afternoon Tuesday, and some leave Monday night. It's just the great thing about it is that it's your itinerary, it's your schedule. So the great thing about it is that you have full control over it. So if you want to be there longer, you can. If you want to be there shorter, you can do as well too.
Yeah.
So that's the great thing about it. So. Well, normally we have 2 calls, and you and I, though, are just going to have one very efficient call today. So if anyone asks, tell them that we did the 2 calls. Usually, the first call is to kind of get a bit of a discovery as to exactly where the topics and the scenarios and interest, where do you want to be at, and the second call is us coming back through. Going through the think tanks, general sessions, the one-on-one meeting recommendations, and so forth. But to make this work, I'm going to ask you a smaller number of questions relatively on the front end. And rather than just walking you through the think tanks and other sessions and general panels, Jen is going to shoot you an email after our conversation, and you just kind of pick and prioritize those at your time. And you'll get, 90-95% of everything that you want, and the great thing is you'll get nothing that you don't want. And what I'll do here is I'll just take you through the one-on-one meeting recommendations just to kind of make this efficient for this call. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Well, I guess a good starting point would be is if you can kind of just walk me through your role and what the scope of your responsibilities looks like there at Accenture, please.
Sure. I oversee the global benefits function.
Uh-huh.
Everything but retirement.
Everything but retirement.
Uh-huh. I have a peer that oversees kind of the retirement area globally.
Interesting. And it looks like you have, am I reading it right? You have 280,000 international employees.
Yes.
Wow, that is a huge footprint. Mm-hmm. That is a huge footprint. In terms of like a big priorities then over the next like 6 to 18 months, what are some of the areas from a benefits perspective that you're going to be working on and saying that, this is good but needs to be better, or, we're lacking in this area? What does it look like for you right now?
We're looking at ways that we can finance our benefit offerings in a more efficient way.
And how are you financing right now? I mean, why is it so inefficient right now?
Through individual country premium, country by country by country. So we're looking at things like a global program, or a global risk program, or a captive type of solution.
Interesting. And it also says here that it appears that risk management solutions are also kind of on the top of the mind for the next 6 to 24 months. So what does that mean as far as risk management solutions? What does that look like?
Looking at like a global business travel accident program, where we could, because right now each country is kind of procuring the accident part of that piece. We do have a global business travel assistance and medical program, but not the accident side, and where we can kind of standardize and streamline that so that, as we travel to higher risk countries, there's no issues, right, if we do it with one vendor.
So is it more of from a travel, or is it more of a relocation standpoint?
It's travel, because as who we are as a business, a consultant company, right, transformation type of company, we have a lot of business travelers.
Right. That would actually fall under, my brother-in-law actually works for you and does a lot of traveling across the states, and he just recently he calls them tours because he goes and consults different companies, and so he calls them tours. And he just finished a tour in Toronto, where he would literally fly out on Monday morning and arrive in Toronto, and whatever business he was there facilitating, helping, whatever consulting he needs to be done, would fly back on a Thursday evening and would do that literally for 2
months at a time.
2 or 3 months at a time. And then once he's done with that, then he would fly out he did one where he went back to he lives in Virginia, in Fairfax, and flew, I guess half the year last year to Nike out there in Oregon to help them out.
Yeah.
And we just do that cross travel literally every single week. And I thought to myself, man, what is that is at least you're racking up the frequent flyer miles, but my goodness, traveling over 3 time zones.
Exactly. So I'm looking when they cross that border, not within that country. That's done at a country level. I'm looking at those solutions across borders to be like visa and immigration compliant, as well as our duty of care to our people, making sure they have adequate coverage.
Makes sense. And from a wellness perspective, what appears to be a point of emphasis with regards to that as well?
So from a wellness point of view, we don't have a global wellness strategy in place right now. But looking at strategies of what would that look like in the future for us, especially with the high business travel population. How do we keep those business travelers healthy?
Right.
And then offer kind of a global solution, right? A global plus a local, because you don't want to take away what's been done on a local level, but more from a brand
Right.
on the global approach, and then making sure that we can do a health risk assessment as a baseline, like how, so I can answer the question, how healthy are our people globally? Can't answer that without some type of measurement.
No, very interesting. I was just kind of looking at just from my perspective is, how do you, at your point, find out just a pulse of what the health looks like of your employees? In addition to that, how would that be with regards to, does the program work well in, we'll call it the UK as compared to the US and vice versa?
Yeah,
then how
that's
do you?
where you have to have that local approach, right? Global and local.
So with regards to your title as far as Director of Global Benefits, does each implementation happen at the local level? I mean, are you guys fairly decentralized with regards to decision making and?
Yeah, we are, but we have governance in place.
Mm-hmm.
So countries, we're making sure that they're market relevant.
I see. So for
coming in line with our Sarbanes-Oxley on the retirement plans as an example.
Right.
Make sure there's compliant solutions in place.
And how does that work out though with regards to, as far as obviously wellness is important, especially being self-funded here in the States and as well as overseas. But do some of those wellness programs, are they just standardized with regards to more of the countries that have socialized medicine as compared to this one?
Actually, if you think about the socialized medicine, so not every country we have has a local program.
Uh-huh.
But if you kind of see what happened is that the shifts are happening where
right.
countries are starting to get, they're starting to put more barriers in, right? So we're not going to allow expats into our country, into our social program. Your brother-in-law, I think you said, they can't use the Canadian healthcare system, right, as from a social side. So they're putting more and more barriers up for employers who want to do business across border. And even in the Nordics, as an example, in Finland, they give employers tax benefits for putting medical plans in place to take the burden off of the social plan. So what you've seen is shifts. So if we all don't work together and we just say, oh, government has it, right? One, you're not making sure your people are healthy so they can be productive, right, at the end of the day.
Yeah,
and then
right.
two, it's a vicious circle because the government ends up funding it, which then gives you more taxes as an employer and an employee. So you all have to work together in concert, right, to kind of come up with a good solution.
And the interesting part about that, and as we speak to hundreds of organizations, both large and small, and the biggest challenge they all are having is, how do you acquire the proper analytics to know what decisions you need to make with regards to what programs are working, what programs are not, compared to just dumping money into a program, and B, how do you engage your employees? Meaning that it's going to be like, what's in it for them type of mentality, because for the most part they just don't really care, because this has not been in the forefront of anybody, especially here in America, that I can think of. The push has just been just in the recent 5 years, if you will, as far as a true conscious effort to become more healthy. And then the other one beyond that is it doesn't just stop at the employee level, but also it goes down to the spouse and the dependents and getting those people on board too, because they're all part of the plan, and the dependents are the ones a lot of times are the ones who are driving up the cost. Well, then how do you effectively communicate that across all channels, right, properly, do the what's in it for them type of scenario, and how do you measure that? Are you guys doing anything clever right now, or do you have anything that you have in place that?
We have nothing clever. We have, because we don't have a global program, but we definitely have ideas about how we would solve that as a company.
Do you have anything locally with regards to the United States that you can try to model out there to the global side, or?
Yeah, like the health risk assessment and the biometrics would be the two that we would take. So you'd have to have a global provider or regional providers in order to do that. So when the CEO comes and asks me what's the health of our population, I can answer that by summarizing a couple of reports versus 60-plus reports.
That would be really nice, wouldn't it? Just a quick little clicks. From a talent management perspective, How involved are you with regards to that? Does that fall under your side as well, as far as talent management and you know?
I'm sorry.
As far as the like talent management, performance management, does that fall under your scope as well?
No. If you can imagine a company of our size, you have to be specialized, right?
Absolutely.
We're not generalists, we're specialists here. So no, that doesn't reside under me.
Right. No, exactly, and as well too, as far as like your HRS system as well too. I'm sure all those are all just kind of specialized, but fall under different people's wheelhouses, and you just kind of take what is out there, correct?
No, I mean not taking what's out there from a. Say that again. Sorry, I don't think I quite understood.
Yeah, no worries. I mean from from like an HRS system as well too. I'm sure does that fall under your scope, or is that handled into a completely different division as well?
That goes into our CIO department, and we have an HR, people that support it. Like we run SAP HR, SAP Financials, so you have CIO that kind of oversees that, and then you have specialists within HR that kind of oversee the HR elements to it, making sure the career architecture, right, is embedded and that integrity is good. And
right. Do you ever find it, because a lot of times when you come, I'm sure it was the same case when you came to us a few years ago, that you're potentially sitting and hearing solutions that weren't necessarily under your scope, but yet were a more broader organizational gap or focus. Sometimes that seems to be the case, and those usually fall under like assessments or anything from a cultural standpoint, or anything as far as an engagement standpoint. Is that something that you also have like an understanding of, or is that more you're still very pretty much myopic in as far as your scope is with regards to this is benefits and globalization of benefits and so forth? That's kind of, I gotta stay there because it's so big.
Like engagement affects my team, right? So we get involved because we use that both from my team's perspective as well as I use it to assess the employee survey to say, are there any trends or themes in our benefit offerings within our particular countries?
Okay.
As an example.
Right.
And then around kind of our talent management strategy, can you use benefits as a lever to drive our talent management strategy? It's one element of it. Right? How to offer, different packages that will attract and retain the right talent.
Right, and I think also too, with regards to that, in that same vein, is going to be rewards and recognition as well too. A lot of times that incentivizes and so forth. You can do the rewards on both the benefits side and on the performance side as well too. Do you have anything in place with regards to rewarding those who are doing the right things, or as far as incentivizing, I guess for lack of a better term, good behaviors?
We do. We have a kind of a central employee reward system where you can be like, thank a colleague, or I have points that I can give out celebrating different people's performance.
Makes a lot, and it's amazing how just small little, and even as educated and professional as your work population is, and I say it because my my brother-in-law is a Naval Academy graduate, and he also has a post-Naval Academy degree and so forth. So I'm like, if that's what the rest of the Accenture, especially consultants, look like, it's very highly educated, very professional. Even small rewards go a long ways, because people are people, right? At the end of the day, and having to feel like they're part of the same organization. And I think the challenge that you have, which you've so eloquently have said, is that you are decentralized, and how do you make that everyone feel like they're part of something of a whole, but yet at the same time have the appearance of being local as well too. That's a nice little balancing aspect that you got to play. So
right, yeah, it is.
Well,
just a simple thank you, right, to somebody. I just received one right now. Right, I was working with my colleagues in India on a project that was really long, right, and onerous, and she just sent me some points. I don't expect it at my level, quite honestly. But it was nice to receive it, right? Just a thank you would have been completely fine, and that recognition, right? And so across the globe, she was able to send me a thank you plus some celebrating performance points that I could use to buy something. Of course, it's taxable, but still, it's a nice benefit, right, that we offer.
Absolutely, and the great thing about that, it also is a sense of pride as well too, as far as
right.
As far as I remember, people bragging about how cool their organization is with regards to what they can give with regards to some voluntary benefits that just don't offer elsewhere, and there's a sense of pride that when they're working with an organization that offers all this, they're kind of feeling like they're in more of an exclusive club, and people like talk about that sometimes, and or at least kind of wear as a badge of honor. And at the same time, though, it's like, I work for X company. Immediately, because the conversations happen so much out there, they go, oh, that's an amazing company. They do a lot of really great things, and it serves also as a subliminal recruiting tool as well, where you can attract really good talent because of the fact that you're offering great rewards and you're offering great voluntary benefits and so forth, and people just feel like there's a sense of being there. So nothing wrong with that, nothing wrong with that at all. So, well, let's do this then. I am going to take a stab at a couple of meetings for you. So, as I said, rather, we're just going to go through all the recommendations, and, Jen's going to feed you over an email of all the session selections, the think tanks, and the panels. And what I'm going to take you through now is just to complete your itinerary at our end, or some of the one-on-one meetings that I have for you. And I'll just give you a little bit of context about these meetings. All of them we're going to take you through are going to be senior VPs or CEOs, so there's no one junior or tactical. All meetings are set independently with the other sessions, the think tanks and general sessions, so it's not like an either or. And the other thing too, Tracy, the meetings are like 30 minutes long, so they're very short. So we'll give you a lot of, some context going in, so the conversation can be, taken from a 30,000 foot to a 10,000 foot, and hopefully, at that point, add some real value in that conversation. And but more importantly, as we go through these, if I'm missing the mark or I'm giving you a recommendation that doesn't match up with a gap, or you guys are fully advanced and with where you're going with it, just stop me right away and just say, hey, Justice, we're good there, appreciate that, or you just stop me right away and say, nope, don't need it, and we just can charge on. And really, the idea here is to, based upon my notes, is just put you in front of solution providers that's actually going to knock the ball forward for you, both from a national and also an international perspective. But again, if I'm missing things completely, or if I'm off track, whatever it may be, just say, hey, Justice, thanks, but no thanks. Move on to the next one. It's better to just do that instead of being like, in a meeting, you're like, I don't know what I'm here for, or what am I doing, and so forth. So it's really the idea of you having the full control over your itinerary. So, and what I'm going to start off here with is a company that they're called HMIS, and they're more on the with regards to your employees and looking to reduce the total health care and benefits spend, looking for more accurate, less expensive claims auditing. And HMS delivers what they would claim to be the most comprehensive claims auditing service available. And their automated front and filters process makes it possible to perform an audit for any company under $50,000. And once they have filtered out a client's claims for potential incorrect payments, they use an intricate manual approach, closely analyze claims to identify all insurance overpayments to catch the outlier others will miss. And the recovery is about 1.5% of your total health care spend. And the great thing about it is that they're not burdened by the high overhead or rigid price structures of a national firm. And because the core company is never really to assign junior staff, you get decades of experience with a professional who there's no turnover, so uniquely it actually represents a long-term fix moving forward, and also identifies patterns and creates more sustainable process versus traditional low-risk fixed income gains. So basically, what it is that it's the question is what measures have you done to really manage overpayments of claims, and are you using a vendor right now to audit claims overpayment and right now?
So I run a global medical plan, right? I'm not in that U.S. space. So we don't have an audit right at this point.
Uh-huh.
But if they have an offering where they can, I mean, I'm certain if do they have experience in international claims?
Experience in international claims, they don't have that. They've got two really offerings. One's going to be the dependent verification audit and overall claims, but they don't have anything on here that says international. They only work with really high, organizations with 15,000 plus employees. So usually that means that that's a international footprint. But I can definitely have them have that question answered for you beforehand to have it so it's going to be more of an international side as compared to just an American side.
Okay. We use an American healthcare, right? We use United Healthcare.
Right. So you use.
Yeah, we use United Healthcare, but the international claims. Right? There's U.S. claims. Don't get me wrong, as well, but there's also a large percentage of global claims too, right? Where they don't have ICD-9 codes, right? In that regard. And
this company also, they have experience with all major carriers in the U.S., so they've never been rejected by a carrier.
It'd be interesting to hear.
What's that?
It'd be interesting to see.
Okay, absolutely. What about, have you ever looked at any, with regards to the wellness standpoint, offering any like on-site clinics with your population, or do you have a lot? Is it very dispersed with regards, even in the United States, with regards to large where your employees are? Most of them.
Yeah, the challenge we have is think about I think it was your brother-in-law. Sorry if I'm getting that wrong. But, they're not there very often, right? We don't have a corporate headquarters per se. We have offices, but they do a lot of hoteling. So we do like biometrics on site in the U.S. We have them come in, but we don't have clinics. We just don't have the population size in a specific location to make it profitable. That makes sense.
Now, I figured that was the case just because of the way my brother-in-law talks about it, but I just had to make sure that was the case from you. Great.
Last job I put one on site, but not this job.
Oh, really? What was that job?
I worked at Best Buy's corporate headquarters.
Oh, okay.
And we had Minute Clinic on site when Minute Clinic was just getting up and running.
That was now it's just like in vogue, right? And it's just the way it is now.
Yeah, it's funny because the woman who actually conceptualized the idea was from Minneapolis. And so Linda was her name, and I got to know her really well. She sold it, but it was her idea.
Wow.
Yep, interesting woman. No, she's brilliant. It was fun to get to know her.
I love that. You look at someone who just has that, and they're thinking literally on a different platform altogether.
Yeah.
And you're trying to relate, right? You're trying to connect the dots, but once you connect those dots, they move on to something else, and you're trying to keep catching them with something else. So I completely understand. We've got a couple of people like that in our organization right now who are really brilliant, and you're following along with what they're talking about. Okay, that makes sense, and you realize that, that's what we're talking about, and they've already moved on to something else, right? So you're like, okay, time for the next thing. This company is Cigna GHB. And Cigna actually is here, what they're looking for are companies who, just like you're talking about, inconsistent healthcare and wellness offerings across international locations. So what they are, this is the Cigna Global Health Benefits, and it's the global healthcare firm that provides healthcare coverage and direct payment service for multinational corporations and their expat employees in countries all over the world. Crucially, their plans are easy to navigate and understand, and all claims can be filed online in a user native language for their expedited process. And more of the 9% of the claims are paid within 10 days, regardless of country, language, or currency. And their extensive experience and international networks allows them to identify high-quality services at any location to keep employees away from low-quality or unsustainable providers. Based upon what you said, this appears to be a really good fit for what you're trying to do from a global standpoint, wellness, healthcare.
Yep. I'd be interested in it. Is it so, like, I'm sorry, just to be fully transparent, I need to meet with a couple of people. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, what's that?
I have to meet with a couple of firms?
Yeah, we're going to put you against some firms that that will, like Cigna, for example.
Right?
Yeah, that actually have a solution that's going to fit a need that you have.
So this is Cigna? Is that who you said it was?
Yes, Cigna. Yeah.
I used to have them previously, so I'm totally fine meeting with them.
Okay, perfect. Locally, I mean, and this is just from a local standpoint, what do you have in place as far as pricing transparency? As far as letting your employees manage as far as reducing their claims, as far as better pricing with regards to different services that are out there. Do you have anything in place right now that provides more pricing transparency for your employees' healthcare management here in the States?
Yeah, we do have an HSA, and then we also have unitized pricing, so employees know how much it costs to add like a child versus a spouse.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where that's to the degree of, so HSA is only one option of our medical plan choices.
Oh, fantastic. On the actual, as far as weight loss and diabetes, or just basically keeping the wellness in place, a company here called, I'm sure you heard of it, Weight Watchers Health Solutions. And Weight Watchers is, they provide the unique approach, especially with regards to diabetes and other associated costs, and they save you an average of $9,000 per year. They do this by fitness, nutrition, family education, and really are designed to communicate at the level, especially with your population.
Yeah. We offer Weight Watchers already as a wellness option to choose from.
Well, that's fantastic. Already
in
use
the
it.
U.S.
Yeah, right. Well, I think they only are.
Right?
Yeah, I don't think they are. I think they're only in the U.S. So
it's too bad.
I know they have. It's interesting.
It's simple, right, to blow that up? Can you do that?
You know what? Let me. Well, you can bring it to them, and if you already work on Weight Watchers, you might as well just ask them that question, saying, "Hey, can you offer this thing off to my global population as well too?" I mean, I would think that would be something they would offer, because they are such a large corporation, and they're a very well-known corporation. So, if I was you, I would just say, especially if they do great work for you in the States, by all means, ask them. They can do it, internationally, and it would be a brand that everyone knows internationally, right? So it can be a win-win for everybody. Again, that what's in it for me type thing. What about your compensation benefit statements? How would you, I guess, say how effective or compelling are your existing compensation benefits right now?
So we outsource it in the U.S. and we have built an app in other countries.
So you use different firms for different countries. Is that correct? Sorry, I have a hard time hearing you. Okay.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, we built our own internal app with our other countries that actually do use it. Not every country does. Internally in the U.S., we use our benefit administrator.
Oh, you do. And how would you? Are there any changes you'd like to make with what you have right now, or does it seem like it's working as with regard?
It's now integrated, so I doubt if the U.S. even make a change at this point.
Okay. This next firm here is a company called Safeguard, and Safeguard, it's called Safeguard World International, and what they do is, for those who are especially trying to reduce exposure to tax or employment law, looking to basically expand new markets, mitigate, your legal risks internationally. And so, being that you have a very large international population, they are some ways parallel to what would be a PEO model here in the States, essentially eliminating like the red tape and like administrative work, eliminating associated FTEs, and basically, they're give you the cheapest, safest, I guess, less complicated way to expand, if you want to, your foreign business operations. Safeguard facilitates 100% compliant foreign employment without prohibitive upfront costs or compliance hassles of creating your own direct employment entity. They act as the employer of record for your international employees, and because of their established networks, they can expedite global expansion in as little as 2 weeks, significantly mitigating tax liabilities and dramatically reducing the cost and confusion.
Yeah. I doubted on that one because we have a global tax team. And
Oh, you do?
team, yeah, and an entity team that really works on tax efficiencies around the globe.
It's a really tricky situation, isn't it? Yeah, they've actually made their they definitely made their business essentially just being like a PEO model across the country, and those who are trying to expand out there don't know how to do it.
We used one when I was at Best Buy, right? Because we would, when we were trying to grow in China, that was the first kind of model, right? Is rent employees from them too. There's models that you can rent employees from,
right?
And kind of do all the contracts through them as you're kind of getting started up. But we're well beyond a startup.
Well, perfect. You guys do a lot of relocation, I imagine, right?
Yeah.
I imagine. How would you rate your international relocation companies right now? I mean, is it something that you're looking at to change upon or improve? We've got a lot of great solutions here, especially for international relocation services.
I used to be in charge of that area. No longer am. Just because of the size of our firm, we really had to specialize a little more.
Right.
So, I know that they just changed out some of their international service providers. Like on the destination services, they just outsourced all of that to a third party. Within country, that's up to the country mobility team.
Right.
It wasn't done globally. And because we don't. Because, if you kind of think of your brother-in-law, right, we don't have a lot of permanent transfers as much as we do projects, and then they go back home.
Right.
We're not telling them to sell his house, just go back home, right, for the weekend.
Right.
And that's kind of our model because it's, his next tour. He doesn't know where his next tour is going to be, right, as he called it. So
that's just he's a Marine, so he served in Iraq. He served in Camp Fallujah he actually retired as a captain in the Marine Corps. So that's what he calls his assignments tours with Accenture. So where's your next tour at? And he says, I don't know yet. They haven't assigned it to me. So but yeah, you're right. I mean, sometimes he'll just go there and he'll be in one location for a couple of weeks at a time, not coming home. But rarely does he actually ever stay. In fact, and if that's the same as what you have elsewhere, then you're right. It's just a temporary thing for a couple of weeks or maybe even a year, right?
Mm-hmm.
That makes a ton of sense. Kind of back to wellness here. How would you say your current HRA provider is right now to inform me about like analytics and engagement and so forth?
So we use a tool, right? But again, I wouldn't be selecting the tool. So it'd be a hard fit for me to talk to them.
Oh, I see. Yeah, this company's it's a great little company as far as, enhancing the value of your HRAs, really to understand your population health. So it's one of those things where someone asks you what it is, what our analytics look like, gives you a nice little tool in front of you, because it's web-based, it's behavioral assessments, and it's predictive analytics. So it's one of those things. I mean, if it seems like it'd be something that's because that's what you're looking at trying to accomplish, we can put you in front of. But if you think it's going to be a big hurdle to overcome because of what you currently have, then obviously it wouldn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, I don't think that would be a good fit for me. They don't get much out of me. I'm just trying to be fair too.
No, it makes perfect sense. Makes complete sense. As far as we talked about rewards here a little bit. I know that you've got a nice little online portal. Are you looking at trying to add to that or make changes to it to increase employee engagement, especially on the benefits side or your kind of cross-pollinating side?
I would definitely be interested if you have any vendors that offer different solutions in other countries around like flexible offerings, voluntary purchases, concierge services, anything that, even if it's regional, right? Even if they're just in the U.S. and let's say Latin America, even if it's regional in nature too.
Right. What about travel?
Say a little bit more, like a travel provider.
No, like as an incentive as well, kind of a rewards. Do you offer any sort of travel as far as travel rewards? They get to a certain point and they've reached as more of an incentive, like determine like a location of a trip and so forth. So they've basically from a rewards and recognition side.
Yeah, we have like one country, right, that offers that as an offering because they're so remote, and so they offer it to kind of get employees off the island, right? Because it's an island country, off of it's a southern tip of Africa. So we do offer it, but it would be interesting to hear.
Yeah.
Because as countries, I could give it to if I take the information back, I know the global perks person, right? That I could, bring back that information to if that's of interest.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that would be just a good one to kind of get in front of, because the great thing about them, I think, what sets them apart is they allow employees to determine location and trip details, and even break them up, so they don't have to take it all at one time. So it's they report satisfaction rates of like 94% and turned by 50% as compared to the other incentive programs and travel programs. So they approach it from a unique perspective, absolutely. And I found it to be, especially populations like yours, be very, very beneficial for sure. So that one, and then the other one we have is a company called Online Rewards, and the Online Rewards kind of is along the same lines of what you have, except for it's a 100% personalized employee reward and recognition platform that is completely customizable on your side. And so they reflect your brand, your industry, your workflows. So they really see it as like an internal commitment as compared to a third party. And they've helped companies like Macy's engagement increase, Blue Cross Blue Shield as well to increase their employees' satisfaction participation rate by 90%. So again, it's a different way of looking at the rewards and benefits side, rewards and recognition side from a benefit standpoint. So I think that those definitely would, especially with what you have, could be a good fit as far as sitting down and having a conversation with them.
And is that global in nature?
I have everything on here that has to be global. So there's nothing on here that says they are global as far as the rewards are concerned. So, but I'll definitely run that by them as far as making sure that they offer it globally as compared to just as compared to locally. So,
okay. We do have a global approach to that. We would not have a local solution to rewards.
You do not have a local solution, you said? Okay,
no.
So it's both.
We have to have a global solution for that. That's something that we can, because we're trying to, we're trying to make sure that regardless of what country you're in, people feel like they have the similar offering. Granted, there's like anniversary rewards that are local, right? But kind of that performance side of that equation, when you want to celebrate someone's performance with a little perk, that's global.
Right. Okay. No, that makes complete sense. Just trying to make this standardized across the globe. I get that. I 100% get that. And I'll definitely have that question out there. And if they don't have it globally or whatever, you just will be part of the meeting. But if you have them on your calendar, it means that they do handle it on a global standpoint. So.
That's another quick question. How many do I have to meet with? Just out of curiosity.
Oh, it really usually No, I understand it. It's usually between just like 6 or so. And I'll have just a few more really to kind of go through with you. I know the calls, the combo calls are generally a little bit longer because we're doing both the discovery and the recommendation on the same call, whereas before the discovery is really quick. The recommendation calls are really quick because I already got my notes beforehand, could prepare, and as I kind of do on the fly, I'm just kind of taking notes and seeing what would be a good fit and so forth based upon what we have. So that's why there's a little more pause, a little bit longer. So I do apologize for that, but I'm just trying to put you in front of people that are going to actually do things for you as compared to just, bore you to death. And hopefully this conversation is not boring you to death right now either, too, because with regards to, do you do anything with regards to offer scholarship programs or tuition assistance? Because I know your population is really educated and so forth. Is that a benefit that you offer right now?
Only in some countries because we really do hire college graduates.
Uh-huh.
Typically, and so some of our countries offer it, but in the U.S. we don't offer tuition reimbursement.
Interesting.
I know.
I would think that I would think that would definitely be I would definitely think that would be an offering for you for sure. The company's called.
We have a huge training development program too.
Right. Oh, absolutely. I could definitely see that. If you bring them in, you definitely. I mean, you have the best and brightest in your organization, right? So I think that you would have that in place. What about student loan?
We do offer MBA, right? It's kind of sponsored MBAs
Mm-hmm.
and that nature, but.
What about helping students with their student loan refinancing? Sorry, students, your employees with student loan refinancing. We got a company called SoFi Lending
that would be interesting, but it's very U.S. specific. But I could certainly listen.
Yeah, absolutely. And they really basically say, help the students with their student loans without any cost to you. It's kind of like their big leader into that. So it's a company called SoFi Lending, and they are the leading provider in student loan refinancing with the best rates and savings and customer experience. And so if you're not offering that right now, it's a great incentive and something that from a benefit standpoint, we find that it's kind of things where they feel like the company's helping them get out of or contributing back to them as well too. So if that's something that you, like I said, if it's something that's going to be of good benefit to you, they handle all the communications, education, and rollout. So basically, the whole refinancing process takes about a week, and they take care of all of that. And they work with other companies like Apple, Morgan Stanley, USB. So definitely along the same workforce as what you have. So they're very familiar with your population and how to really leverage the most out of it. So seems to be a good fit to you.
I'm willing to listen, right? But I mean, I think employers have to start trying to figure out at least giving people advice or referrals, right, to places that they can reduce their debt from.
Yes. No, I understand. Absolutely understand. You said you don't do any with regards to the training development. Would it be interesting? Yeah, we got some great companies, especially for remote and dispersed populations with regards to.
You can probably imagine where we are in the site. You can do everything on your telephone. You can do everything. We're completely plugged in there. We don't need any help. We're a technology company, right? One would expect it.
No, absolutely, completely understand that. Other things, I guess, to round it out. Anything with regards to like taxes or identity theft. Identity theft is obviously a big point of interest for everybody here because I think everyone has a commonality is that we've all experienced identity theft. I have 5 times in the last 3 years. Do you offer any sort of
We do offer it within our voluntary product already that you can buy.
I understand. Okay. Well, perfect. Well, is there anything above and beyond which we discussed that you've been like, hey, Justice, this would have been a great help if we could have X or Y above and beyond which we've discussed right now? Did I miss anything that would really be beneficial for you as far as being with us?
I don't think so. But any voluntary offerings globally or again, or regionally, right? Even within 1 or 2 regions, things that I can offer choice and flexibility, I would be more than willing to meet with those guys. That would be my preference.
I'm sorry, I did not catch that last one that you said.
Oh, that would be my preference.
What would be your preference? That part I did not catch.
Companies that offer flexibility or choice of different voluntary options like concierge or perks or different elements that could kind of enhance their work. Like, I know it sounds silly, but like pet insurance, right, in other countries. I know it's not, a trend, But is there something that they can offer, like a flexible offering that people can choose and have a payroll deduction from? Or we can offer more choice to our people in other countries outside the U.S.?
Interesting. Pet insurance. I've heard that term before. And I know companies try offering it, and companies here in the U.S. just instantly catch on, but it might be a big hook for those internationally, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, good. Well, do you have any questions for me before I let you go?
No.
Well, I appreciate the time you've given me. You've been really generous with it, and I super appreciate it. Be on the lookout for that email from Jen with regards to the other topics, and we look forward to meeting you in Houston next month. Look forward to shaking your hand.
Okay. And I have a question. When do I have to give my think tank questions in, or do I just bring those day one?
Okay, yeah, so that will be the questions. What I'll do is I'll have Julia, who coordinates the speakers, which is what you're going to be essentially. I'll coordinate with her to reach out to you, and you just go ahead and give her the topics at that point, and then she'll just kind of go through a quick little logistics of how how kind of the lay of the land, how it works there, and she's the one who definitely coordinates the speakers. So I will make sure you two are connected via email.
Okay. Right.
All right. Well, again, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.